So, by now, you've probably watched a couple of videos of mine and thought, geez, this DJ Muel guy's pretty based. Like, what next? What? He talks about doing stuff, actual activism, and I wonder how I could do more about that. If you've come to my channel over the last few weeks, it's probably because of a couple of reasons. But I guarantee most of you are feeling frustrated about the way that politics is going on the online left, and also frustrated about how bad things are getting in the world, and how it seems that no one's doing anything about it. I've already talked to you lot about the show that I do every Sunday night with Sophie from Mars, Conquest of Dread, and Bad Bunny, Red Planet. We talk on that show a lot about how you can get out there and do real life activism or activism from your home, and how that will help bring about the end of capitalism, cause rot within the imperial core, and bring about a wonderful new age of utopia in communism and anarchism and anti-fascism. Yes! But it's okay, I get it. There's a lot of episodes of Red Planet, it's long-form content. Maybe some of you don't have the time to watch that. Maybe some of you have watched it, but you find it a little bit hard to absorb it all. I know that I've got ADHD, and I'm one of the hosts, and when I'm doing the show, sometimes my ADHD really takes over and I lose what the fuck we're talking about. So that's where this video comes in, and today I'm going to be talking to you about unions. You've probably heard a lot of people online telling you to go join a union, and it probably sounds a bit annoying right now. You're probably going, why the hell are all these guys telling me to join a union? It's not going to solve all the problems in the world. Why are they so obsessed with it? And the fact of the matter is that, yeah, it's not going to solve all the problems in the world, but there's a reason that people are so crazy and hyped about unions. So what are unions? Unions are collectives of people who get together to be unified, essentially. It's as simple as that. The most common form of this is a trade union or a workers' union, where people who work in a specific trade or a specific sector will join a union that represents workers in that sector in order to organize direct action against workplace abuse. When I say workplace abuse, I mean all kinds of abuse, from the extremely upsetting and violent forms of abuse that can happen to some people in some workplaces, to the everyday form of financial abuse that we receive just by being a member of the working class. This can range from such issues as being unpaid for doing overtime, or not being paid enough for the work that you're doing. It can even go so far as to address issues that happen in the workplace related to rights of marginalized people. For example, if you're in a union and you have good representation, good queer and trans representation in that union, and someone is on the receiving end of homophobic abuse, the union can take action to stop that from happening, especially if it's coming from up top. Now, most of you that don't know much about unions have probably noticed that I said this is the most common form of union. Yes, that's right. There are other kinds of union. There are disability unions, there are renters unions, there are queer unions, and there are even, in some countries, women's unions. If you watch my last video on a certain Debate Bro streamer, then you will have heard me talk about Luna Oi. Luna Oi is a Vietnamese comrade who does excellent videos talking about why Vietnam is super based, and unions are a huge part of that. The women's union in Vietnam is one of the oldest unions, and it is so powerful that it is actually part of the main form of government in Vietnam. If you want to get more educated on Vietnam and socialism within Vietnam, then please go check out Luna Oi's channel. Link will be in the description below. But you might be sat there thinking, Muel, if unions are so good, why do I not really hear too much about them nowadays? Well, you know what time it is, gang. It's time to step into the YouTube time machine, even though this time we're not really going into the time machine to talk about YouTube. We're going into the time machine to talk about things that happened before YouTube. Oh! You might have heard of a phenomenal lady called Margaret Thatcher. You also might have heard of this lady who really doesn't like Margaret Thatcher.
Think she did any good?
Not a bit of good. Not a bit. I'd put a stake through her heart and garlic around her neck to make sure she never come back.
Like a lot of older people who remember what Thatcher did back in the 70s and 80s, they aren't too fond of what she did to the country. There's a lot of history to go over about Margaret Thatcher and why she completely destroyed the working class in Britain in the 70s and the 80s, but the main thing I'm going to talk about today is how she eviscerated the unions. You might have heard conservatives in the UK talk about how unions used to have too much power, and you will have absolutely heard about the miners' strikes. Thatcher did absolutely everything that she could to destroy the unions that were, by all accounts, very powerful back in the day in the UK, because that was the agenda of the neoliberal politics that she brought to the UK. It wasn't just in the UK that this was happening at the time. In Chile, one of the most disgusting acts of neoliberal fascism was the bombing of the Chilean parliament. Pinochet was a disgusting fascist fuck that tortured, executed, and just destroyed the lives of hundreds of thousands of Chileans. People were executed simply for being in a trade union. With all of the anti-union laws that were coming about in lots of countries worldwide at the time, and the advent of neoliberal capitalism, unions started to receive a lot of bad press. So why was it so important for neoliberals to destroy unions? Well, then you've got to ask what it is that unions can achieve. I've also mentioned the channel Positive Leftist News on my channel before. They talk every month about victories for workers' rights across the globe. These victories for workers' rights can only happen with unions, even if it isn't formally a union or recognized by the state or the place of work that they're at, just a bunch of people getting together and saying, hang on a minute, no, organizing strike action and demanding better conditions, better pay, better everything is how a union works. And that's what Thatcher meant when she meant the unions had too much power. If we're going to talk about unions' power, then it would be absolutely remiss of me to not talk about dual power. And if you want to learn more about that, I suggest you go check out my Red Planet co-host Tim's video on what dual power is and how it can be achieved. Tim's channel is called Conquest of Dread on YouTube, and there will be a link to the video in the description below. But the long and short of it is that unions, when they work together, can actually end capitalism. Yeah, that's basically what the Soviet Union did. Now, of course, the USSR is not the ideal version of communism that we wanted to see in the world, but when it first started, dual power is how they actually destroyed the government that was oppressing them. And you can actually see a better example of communism and socialism in Vietnam, which is why I mentioned Luna's channel as well. In Vietnam, the coalition of unions working together to make life better for everybody in the country is what makes it so good. In fact, right now, as I'm recording this, the date is the, it's the 1st of April. Right, okay, well, this isn't an April Fool. Of course, this video isn't going to be coming out on the 1st of April. Yes, as I'm recording this video today, the 1st of April, 2022, Amazon workers voted to start their first union in Amazon warehouses. It's an absolutely historic moment. As you know, Amazon is one of the biggest and most disgusting corporations on planet Earth. You all have heard of the stories about piss bottles and people just needing to go to the toilet and having to do it stood right where they are in their warehouses. It's a horror show. And they have been battering workers with anti-union propaganda again and again and again and again, and they have still unionized. This is so much of a victory that I'm really excited to see where it goes. As we see on Red Planet all the time, capitalism has failed. If capitalism was ever a system that was made for people to have a nice life and live as comfortably as they possibly can, it surely failed in that regard, right? Of course, capitalism wasn't invented for that. It was invented by greedy bastards who just wanted to fucking control people. Nonetheless, it has failed the human race, and more unions are popping up in disgusting mega corporations all over the world. And in America, this is huge. America's Red Scare nonsense going on from the end of the Second World War all the way up to the 90s has actually, it didn't even end in the 90s. They're still terrified by socialism and communism. So the fact that we're seeing unions pop up in the United States is phenomenal. Not to mention our comrades in India actually attempting a national strike. It's absolutely phenomenal to see this kind of stuff happening. Sure, a full general strike wasn't achieved yet, but the closer and closer that we get to a general strike, the closer and closer we get to beating capitalism. Once everyday people see that all we have to do is stop working for a couple of days. It might not even be a couple of days. It might even just be one day. Global capital will absolutely collapse in on itself. Wherever union and strike action is taking place, stocks and shares fall in that company. So it doesn't just have an effect on the people on the ground, it has an effect on the people at the top as well. And I'm talking the very top. Remember how we spoke about the Koch brothers in the last video? Yeah. You're hurting those guys when you unionize. 100%. And not just the Koch brothers, all the billionaires. Literally every single one of them. And that, my friends, is just trade unions, workers' unions. I haven't even started talking to you about renters' unions yet. Tenants' union action is the most based union action that you could even possibly hear of. Homelessness is a huge problem and exists in vast amounts in some of the richest countries in the world. But here's an interesting thing. What do you know about homelessness in Cuba? Cuba, well-known socialist, wants to be communist state, has zero, nil, none at all, no homeless people. Housing is a human right, a legal human right in Cuba. I highly recommend you check out the documentary series, The War on Cuba by Belly of the Beast, Cuba. It is absolutely phenomenal. It just breaks down all of the information barriers that you have in the United States, in the UK, in the Imperial Core about Cuba. But anyway, I digress. Renters unions. Let me put you in a picture. You've been sacked from your job. You can't pay this month's rent. This is the last time that your landlord has said that this is acceptable. So you start getting calls from the bailiffs. Everything is going to shit. You can't find somewhere to live in time. You've got no idea what you're going to do. The bailiffs are going to come. They're going to take your telly. They're going to take your Xbox. They're going to take fucking everything you've got. But then boom, the day that they come, a bunch of fucking legends turn up to your gaff and stop them from getting in. Corporate landlords, private landlords are some of the most abusive parasites in the entire world. Renters unions actively stop them from making you homeless. So after hearing all this, you're probably thinking, Muel, where do I start? Well, of course, I'm going to plug my own content and direct you to the Red Planet episode where we have a representative from the industrial workers of the world, Matilda. She talked to us about how to unionize your workplace, what kind of union to join, all that kind of stuff. The Industrial Workers of the World is the best union to start with. Not only is it a global union, but they do lots of cool stuff. They will also point you in the right direction for which union to join, which best represents workers in your sector. And better yet, if there isn't a union that exists in your country that best represents your sector, they'll tell you how to make one yourself. Matilda answered a lot of great questions for us and gave us a lot of good ideas on how to unionize and radicalize your comrades at work. Go and check out that specific episode of Red Planet. I will leave you a link in the description if you want a more detailed look at how to unionize your workplace. And as soon as you start following the right people on social media, you will learn of strike action happening all over the globe, maybe even in your hometown. Again, check out Conquest of Dread's video for more information on why unions are so based. And of course, check out Luna Oi's channel for more information on how the revolution happened in Vietnam. And of course, Belly of the Beast, Cuba. Well, thank you again, everybody, for all the love that I've received on the channel in the last couple of weeks. It's been really, really rallying for my morale. It's great to see that so many of you really want to see actual change in the world. I know that the whole breadtube leftist political content creator thing is a bit of a meme at this point. I know that some people get a little mad when they see content creators just kind of focusing on, like, you know, why media is leftist and stuff like that. It's really good to see that a lot of you are so frustrated with the debate bro circuit and how useless they are in terms of helping bring about the end of capitalism. We absolutely have to unify together and organize together in order to end this hell world. A better world is possible. Utopianism isn't cringe. Why the hell would it be cringe to want to imagine a better world for everybody? It's absolutely possible. This is why I recommend the Belly of the Beast to everybody, because the Belly of the Beast Cuba actually shows what life can be like when society is founded on love and care for each other. So thank you so much for all the support. I truly believe that working together, we will end capitalism and imperialism and fascism. Join me again for another video next week. In the meantime, please subscribe and comment. In fact, I tell you what, a little bit of a call to action for you. Why don't you tell me, as I'm watching this video, whether you're in a union or not? And then in the next video, we will check out how many of you have joined a union in the comments section. How about that? And of course, don't forget to support me on Patreon. All of the money that I receive on Patreon will go towards making these videos better. There are lots of cool benefits you could get by being one of my patrons. For example, being able to see the content a day earlier than everybody else, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. And of course, if you're supporting me already on Patreon, thank you so much. It means the world. If you want to support me in other ways, you can join me on twitch.tv/DJ Muel, where I stream Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. UK time till late. I do all sorts of content. I do Dark Souls speedruns. I'm trying to get into Elden Ring speedrunning, but I'm leaving it for a little bit because I literally just played Elden Ring for about a month solid. I also do political stuff. I also do what's known as React Andy, if you're not down with the Twitch lingo. React Andy streams are basically where I'll watch some content and react to it, and we'll have a bit of a laugh about it. For example, this Thursday, we watched Atrocity Guide's video, It's Embarrassing to Die, which is about the immortalist cults in the USA and worldwide. That was absolutely crazy. Some of the stuff in that video is mad. I'd recommend the video just anyway, to be honest, but, you know, if you want a more engaging experience, you can watch me react to it. I also have a VOD channel for all of my old streams. I'm currently trying to upload a backlog of old streams to that channel, so bear with it. It's not entirely fleshed out just yet, but it is there. And as I've already mentioned in this episode, Red Planet every Sunday, 10 p.m. UK time till 1 a.m. on twitch.tv/Bad Bunny. And you can catch the VODs at Bad Bunny Official Clips on YouTube. The link to that will be down below as well. Thank you so much for supporting me, everyone. Really, really appreciate seeing all your comments every week and all of the shares and the likes. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. It's really cool that people are wanting to get together and do something. Stay excellent to each other. Mwah! Peace.